Welcome to Engineer Off Property. This video is part of our 24/7 series designed by hotel chief engineers in order to provide hospitality teams with the troubleshooting resources needed to handle after-hours issues with confidence. In this video, we are diving into basic guest room television troubleshooting. We will be working with an LG Pro Idiom television and an Enseo set-top box, which is connected to an Enseo head-end system.
There are many supplies needed to troubleshoot hotel televisions. You will need spare batteries and cables, an Enseo remote, a master LG television remote, a backup set-top box, and other supplies to complete the troubleshooting. You will be required to check multiple components, and sometimes replacing them. Instead of walking back and forth to get supplies, it's a good idea to have everything in one place. This handy toolbox allows us to keep everything together that we will need, making it a snap to get our guests going again.
The first step in television troubleshooting is to understand how our system actually functions. Our service provider, Enseo, uses a rooftop satellite dish to bring in the main signal. This signal is then sent to our television equipment room, where the channels are separated according to our preferred setup. The signals are then sent to each individual guest room and remotely programmed into the set-top box, or STB. Each guest room has a specific Enseo remote control. Keep in mind, this remote control does not control the television itself. The remote actually controls the STB, which sends signals to the television. No matter what issue has been reported, you need to first make sure that all of the cabling is plugged in exactly where it should be, as this is usually the issue in most circumstances. This is the RS232C cable. This cable carries the remote control signals from the STB to the television. You want to make sure that the square plastic end is plugged into the STB port that has a television icon above it, and the other metal prong end plugs into the back of the television in the second port from the top, labeled RS232C. For a good connection, make sure you push the metal prong firmly all the way into place. And remember, anytime this cable is unplugged or loses proper connection on either end while troubleshooting, you must power cycle the television. This prompts the television to stop receiving signals from the factory LG wireless remote and allows the STB signals to travel through the RS232C cable instead. Power cycling is very easy. Simply unplug the power supply cord from the back of the television, wait 5 seconds, then plug it back in again. Next, use the Enseo remote to power the television on. If the television either does not power on, the channels do not change, or the volume control doesn't respond, you need to replace the RS232C cable. Now, take a look at the HDMI cable. The HDMI cable sends picture and volume signals from the STB to the television. One end of the HDMI cable attaches to the STB in the port beside the RS232C cable. The other end attaches to the back of the television in the port labeled HDMI 1. If the television screen is prompting that there is no signal, you need to check two things. First, use the Enseo remote to turn off the television. Then, unplug the RS232C cable. This will allow you to be able to use the LG factory remote. Press the power button on the LG remote to turn the television back on. Then, press the input key to display all of the available inputs. You need to make sure that HDMI 1 is selected and press the Enter button. Now, power off the television and plug the RS232C cable back in. Since we disconnected the RS232C cable, you will need to once again perform a power cycling of the television. Wait a few seconds, then use the Enseo remote to turn the television back on. If the television still displays no signal, you will need to check the coax cable connections. The coax cable sends signals from the Enseo head end in your equipment room to the STB in the guest rooms. Make sure the coax cable connection on the STB is hand tight by twisting it to the right. Once you have checked that and you still aren't receiving a signal, you will need to check the coax connection at the wall outlet.
If the coax wall outlet is encased, as this one is, you will need to make arrangements for your maintenance team to further assist.
Okay, now that we have checked all of the cable connections, what if the television still isn't working as expected? It's time for Plan B. We need to make sure that the STB itself is functioning correctly. The simplest thing to do is to power cycle the STB. Think of power cycling as a brain reset because that's basically what it is, but for electronic equipment instead. Just like we did earlier with the television, unplug the STB power cable, wait 5 seconds, and then plug it back in. However, unlike the television, the STB will need to complete several downloads from your Enseo headend in the equipment room. Once the power cycling has been completed, the television screen will display the Enseo logo. Then, the STB will have one or more of the 3 lights flashing on it while the download's complete. The best thing to do is leave the room for about 30 minutes or so. If there is a guest in the room, simply tell them to call the front desk in about a half hour if the television doesn't return to normal functionality. This concludes Part 1 of our LG and Enseo television troubleshooting videos. Be sure to view Part 2 as it contains more helpful tips for assisting with your guests' needs. As always, we greatly appreciate you visiting our YouTube channel and invite you to please subscribe so you never miss any of our latest content.